Thank you so much, Sarah. Well, thanks to everybody. My name is Juan Carlos Martí Revelo. I am from Costa Rica, and I bring you my capstone, Enhancing Sustainability and Profitability in Small-Scale Fisheries, a social business model to shorten the value chain. A little bit about myself. I do not come from the ocean marine space until now. I study industrial design engineering back in Costa Rica. This was the closest I could be to a mad scientist. I wanted to create things, and basically this led me to a roller coaster around technology, innovation, and entrepreneurship. 6 years ago, I was hired for this consultancy in seafood supply chain, and it opened my mind to this world. Actually, I love this photo because I am in a mangrove with a bunch of women that were harvesting mangrove clams, and it was so hard, so challenging. It was full of mosquitoes, super humid, hot, and actually I'm holding one of the clams in my hand, and what was mind blowing was the amount that these women were being paid for their work. And this is not just for clams, this is for fish and the whole small scale fisheries sector. This led me to start a company called Remora Fishing Traceability. And what we were developing is tech solutions for the seafood traceability. We were hired by NGOs telling us, if you build technology, you will help these small-scale fisheries, the women, to connect to market so they will get a better price for their work. And this is what we have been doing for the last years, developing technology, try to generate more science out of this sector. And after several projects, not just in Costa Rica, but also Puerto Rico, Barbados, I came to the conclusion that even though technology is important, we need a lot more. So this, because even though the consumers, they want to understand where the fish is coming from, they want to understand other factors like the quality of their fish, the freshness, the food safety, then the impact and the traceability. So to break the whole dynamic in the small scale fishery sector, we need more than technology. We have to see this as a systemic problem that needs more pieces of the puzzle. The good thing is that there's a growing market that they do want high quality fish from small scale fisheries, and they are willing to pay even more. The challenge is that these local fishers, their catch gets mixed with all the industrial sector because of the long supply chains. I'm going to explain a little bit more about this long supply chain. And it's basically the number of intermediaries from the fish being caught to when it reaches the final consumer. And the challenging part is that as the fish changes hands, the quality usually goes down. The traceability, it's almost impossible. The sustainability is compromised because we have no idea where the fish is coming from. And finally, fishers earn very little of the final price of that product. So this middle part is very obscure, inefficient, and this is what we want to change, going from a long supply chain to shortening the whole supply chain. And what I'm proposing in my capstone is for my company to transform from a tech company to a social intermediary, trying to connect small-scale fisheries to consumers and bring a product that is high quality, sustainable, fair trade, and traceable. And the idea is to do this through a series of strategies. The first is a mobile fish processing unit, so we can bring all the processing challenges that closer to the fishing communities. Then we use the traceability technologies plus other technologies that we've been developing, and then a social business. For my capstone objectives, I had 5 that were analyzing other initiatives just to learn from other players around the world that are trying to do something similar. Create a financial model of projections so I can understand the dynamics in the cash flow around this venture. To develop some traceability technologies, especially for this model. Build all the other elements to launch a pilot in Costa Rica. And finally, start collecting data. The first was to interview some of the big players in this sector. For example, Ocean to Table, they're in California, but also Smart Fish in Mexico, Abalobi in South Africa. And these are huge initiatives. And it was very incredible to be able to talk with them about their strengths, but also some of the threats about venturing in this sector. Then the other part was the financial modeling to understand how much we can pay to fishers, how much we need to sell the fish to the market, how the fish processing affects all the finances. For example, if we have, I don't know, 2 kilos of sea bass, then if we process that under a 50% yield, we are going to get 1 kilogram of sea bass that we can sell. But what happens if it's not 50%, but it's 40%? How all these numbers affect the numbers, and then the volume we need to break even in this model. The third was to develop the whole suite of technologies that mainly are the vessel monitoring systems, a smart scale that I'm going to talk in a short while, and some tags facing the consumers. The first technology is a low-cost boat tracking system. Think about this as your GPS on the car, but we have this solar panel GPS that we attach to the hull of the boats, and we can understand where the boat is fishing. We can prove if the fishers are respecting marine protected areas. We can generate some data to understand who is fishing where, and also some science, like for example, the number of trips per month that every individual fisher is doing, and we can start to generate some catch per unit effort. Then the following technology is if the boat was in the water and then returning, what are they bringing? So we developed what we are calling the smart scale. And basically it's a scale that uses a camera and some image recognition to understand the species, the size, the weight of every individual fish that it's being delivered to the landing centers in small-scale fisheries. So we can correlate who is fishing what in, for example, the amount of kilograms per trip. The smart scale actually looks something like this. When you were a kid, you went to a playground and you went into the sliding. Well, this is the same idea. A fish slides through this machine, and while it's sliding, we take a photo and we weigh each individual. And we can see some of the photos that we are taking from this machine. You can see some snappers, some sea bass, and we can start to generate some very interesting correlations. For example, the distance that a boat is doing in a trip to the amount of kilograms they are bringing. And all this transforms in data for fishing management. Obviously, not everything is for the science, it's also for the consumer facing part of the model. So we are developing a QR code for consumers to access all the story behind the fish. They want to learn who is the fisher, maybe what's the name of the community, if the fisher has family. So we can try to bring closer these two ends of the equation. And maybe generate differentiation, so they're willing to pay a little bit more. Then we needed to build the other elements of the pilot that were not just technology. For example, finding a fishing community to pilot, develop a brand, build this big thing, fish mobile processing plant, and many, many other little pieces. So after going to several places around Costa Rica, we ended up in Tambor. It's a community in the North Pacific of the country. And we are piloting this with this fishing landing center. This is where fishers provide their catch. And it's a cooperative composed of around 15 active fishers. It's multi-species and mostly unregulated. This was a challenging part about the model. We wanted to create a brand that was appealing not just for consumers, but also to fishers. So we came up with this concept of Neptuno as the Roman god of the sea, that he is allowing us to eat this fish because it was responsibly caught and because we're treating fishers the right way. And we wanted to do something that was not so man representative, but actually it was like kind of like a man fish, and we came up with this concept and the whole design system around this. Then the development of the food truck, the internal parts, this took way longer and it was more challenging than expected. And eventually we came up with this movable fish processing facility. This is my team. And eventually we needed to move this to the fishing communities. So it was not just building this, but learning how to drive with this huge thing attached to the car, and testing all the internal space, if it was good for filleting, if it was good for packaging. So testing everything before going to the fishing communities and finally reaching this place. This is a fishing community, the landing center, and we are parked next to them, bringing all this capability to process fish, that it follows food safety, traceability, and generates a vacuum seal frozen product that we can bring to the market. And finally, all the data that we are collecting around the model. This is just the first part, because once we are up and running, we are generating this data not just for the scientific part, but also for the consumer side. And this is just for you to see the catch composition that we have gathered in the last couple of months. And also the amount of trips. We have over 200 trips registered through the vessel monitoring systems. Our pilot will be launched at the beginning of July. And this whole concept is for fishers to earn more, to generate an exceptional quality product, to generate full traceability from the sea to the plate, so we can really understand where the fish is coming from towards consumers, and generate data to improve the fishery continuously. I hope you like this project, and hopefully the next time you're in Costa Rica, I can invite you to a traceable, fair trade, responsibly caught ceviche from our fish truck. I want to thanks to obviously my family, my wife, my friends that have been supporting this whole adventure during the last couple of years. And I can highlight the amount of positive energy and support that Rod and Ann gave me through these 2 years, but especially these 9 months, that sometimes I wanted to do more at this moment, and they were always pushing me to improve this idea and to just keep on going. And obviously to my amazing cohort, that was an incredible journey to be with you all.